The plan as it has currently been articulated is what one might call dramatically unlawful. The foundational premise of international law is the principle of non intervention and the prohibition on the use of force to acquire territory. So, the idea that the United States could go into a part of Palestine, take their land using military force, and simply put the population somewhere else is fundamentally prohibited by the United Nations Charter.
Human rights advocates have been saying over the last day or so that Donald Trump's suggestion could amount to ethnic cleansing. Can you explain exactly what that threshold is? What does it mean by international law standards? Is there even an agreed definition?
So, ethnic cleansing is a phrase that started being used during the breakup of Yugoslavia. It's not in and of itself an independent crime under international law, but that's not to say that it doesn't compose parts of other crimes or that the act of ethnic cleansing wouldn't amount to, for example, a part of a crime of genocide. We do have crimes under international law pursuant to the Rome Statute. The crime of forcible deportation of a population, forcible movement of population, is a crime. And the plan, as it's been articulated, would seem to certainly amount to that. And as mentioned as well, the forcible transfer of children would amount to genocide under Article 2 of the Genocide Convention. So while ethnic cleansing itself is not a defined crime, there are crimes under international law that would cover the same activities.
A lot of the details of this plan are still quite unclear. What more would you like to see detailed in order to have a better understanding of what the US's policy is now?
Look, the most important thing to remember is that the Palestinian people have a right to self-determination, which is that they have the right to determine their own future within their own territory. That's not to say that other states cannot send aid or offer assistance in the rebuilding of Gaza. But the idea that the United States can come in and impose a solution on the Palestinian people without their consent is absolutely contrary to foundational human rights principles. If the Palestinian people were to themselves decide on the way that they want to govern their future, then of course all other states would have the obligation to respect that. So that's really where we need to start, is allowing the Palestinian people to determine their own future in their own land.
The White House has somewhat walked back these comments this morning, but still says that the removal of Gazans would be temporary. Is that legal or feasible in any way?
It's both unlawful and unfeasible. For starters, the forcible transfer of population, whether permanent or temporary, is still a crime under international law. But it's also unfeasible. I mean, the idea that you would move 2.3 million people to somewhere else and then move them back in a couple of years is just completely impractical. There are obligations, for example, under the Refugee Convention, for states to take in refugees or to offer aid and assistance where they can, where people have been displaced by war. But this kind of idea that you would take the population of an entire country or an entire state or a huge city and just put them somewhere else is completely unfeasible. Other states are not going to agree to take those people. And indeed, if they were to agree to take those people under the current plan, they may well themselves be complicit in the commission of internationally unlawful acts. So I just don't see a way that this is going to be legal unless the Palestinian people are themselves the drivers of the solution pursuant to their right to self-determination.